Good evening. Today we're going to talk about deck building. I'm Gnurrgard, and Burgerflipper will help me out, while Kara will sometimes chime in and, I don't know, annoy me. So I will go through the steps to how to build your deck, at least how I do it. And as an example, I will give the veteran deck that I started to build in, I think, December, and has evolved since then, with some people chiming in too. So the first thing I did was just finding something to build around. As you might remember, in the midwinter, there was like the dwarf meta, as they infamously call it. Everyone was playing square tail dwarfs, and I was really bored with it, and I looked through my collection, wanted to see if there was anything interesting. And then, since I'm a big Skellige fan, I saw the Clan Gnurrgard veteran, which brings us to step one: find something to build around. This was the build around card. I put 3 of them in the deck. So current deck is 3 times Clan Gnurrgard veteran. The build around can be some card you find interesting, some card that is powerful. It can also be an interaction that is very powerful, or a tribe or keyword like Death Wish or Dwarves or Elves. Most of the time, these will be bronze cards because bronzes form the core of your deck. But in some cases, it can also be golds and silvers. Like, for example, Ceres is a gold card that you can build around. So after we put in 3 veterans in our deck, we're going to check our collection about which cards actually work with that card or interaction. So if you put in Gnurrgard in the collection, you will find these cards you can see in the voice chat companion right now. These are the Bearmaster, Hunter, Archer, X-Men, Skirmisher, Svenrige, Darren, Burner, King Bran, and Iced. I think that's all of them. So what you want to do with them is identify which one of those are the most efficient for your strategy. Like, for example, if you look at those cards, you have the Bearmaster, who is 12 points, right? And then you have the Archer, which is 8 and pings 3 times, which is 11 points. So you generally tend to use the better card, Bearmaster, which put out 12 points. So we just put in 3 Bearmasters. And next step, we still want to fill out our bronze core. So we look for another bronze to use. There's still like the Hunter or the Archer. Both are 11 points, but if you look closely, it's the Archer has another distribution, which is 3 times 1. You have to hit 3 targets on your opponent's side of the field, and the Hunter just does 5 damage once. So this requirement is much easier to fulfill. Your opponent just has to have 1 unit on board, which has at least 5 points. Pretty easy to fulfill, so it's generally the better card for that. In bad cases, if your opponent only has 1 or 2 units, you have to hit your own stuff with Archer too, so that is actually negative points. So for now, for deck core, we are at the 3 times the veteran, 3 times Bearmaster, 3 times Hunter. Special note for the X-Men, which is not a bad card at all, but in this case, X-Men requires you to build around 2. So I just wanted to focus on the veteran and not build an X-Men deck, so I just didn't put it in. Okay, so next up, you look at the deck core you have right now and see if there's anything that works with the cards you included. For example, in this case, we have the Hunter and the Bearmaster, who are both soldiers. So you can type in soldiers into the search bar, and you will find things like Priestess of Freya and the Spear Maiden who work with that. Freya is a card that lets you utilize your core strategy again. It's generally very good to just for consistency, because you can just use the best cards you wanted to put in anyway. You can reuse them 3 times. And Spear Maiden also is a consistency tool, which thins out our deck. Generally, bronze thinning is a very good thing to have, because bronzes tend to be weaker than golds and silvers. And additionally, we put in Sigurd Reaver. It's just a staple in Skellige. works with all the clan units. It's an extra res, just like Freya, but has 2 points on it. And it can also restore the veteran for extra buffs on all things. And to round out our deck core, we put in Restore. Restore is one of the best cards in the game. I think it's the best card in the game right now. And looking at our deck list, we have Spear Maiden and Bearmaster as prime targets for it. So we definitely want to put it in there, which leaves our core deck list at 3 veterans, 3 Bearmasters, 3 Hunters, 3 Freyas, 1 Spear Maiden, and for the silvers, Restore and Sigurd River. I'll put it in the voice chat companion too. This is the core deck. You generally want to keep these cards in the deck for the main strategy. So you can't play any games with that because you don't have 25 cards yet. So what you want to do is fill out the deck with create what I call a vanilla list. Vanilla list is a deck that only does the core strategy. It doesn't have any tags. It doesn't have any cute card combos in it. It just focuses on the main strategy. Good cards to include for that is things that are universally good, like Silver Spice, go in almost any deck. Mages are pretty decent. And the staple goals of your faction or neutral ones, like Coral for Skellige, Selkirk for Northern Realms, Triss Telekinesis can go in almost every deck if you put a Reconnaissance in, and Iglace and Scoia'tael. So this will leave us with the following vanilla list that I will put in the companion too. Are there any questions up until now? You can look at the list and ask for certain card choices, for example.
Are they really considered core goals? Coral I understand, and telekinesis to an extent, but Bernard Bran and Gnurrgard True Form seem a little more...
Oh, those are not the core goals.
Okay,
they were
I'm a
like
step
good
behind
cards.
still.
No, it's just Bernard Bran was in the list of Tyrsach units, so generally you can just put that in because she works with the main strategy, and Aguara is something that works with, can pull a Restore or a Nature's Gift to get your Restore out of the deck. It's also pretty decent with the core Skellige strategy, so I put it in there. Maybe Aguara is not too easy to see in this list, but the rest should be pretty self-explanatory, I hope. Okay, moving on. Now that you have the vanilla list, you can go out to ranked and see how it performs. See what cards work, which cards don't work, matchups you have problems with, weaknesses of the decks. If you're more experienced in deck building or have a good sense of understanding the game, you can identify weaknesses just by looking at the deck list, which was what I did back then. I looked at the list, and the main problem you had with this list is that you don't have any way to tutor out your Tyrsach veterans because they don't have the soldier tag since the Midwinter update, and you are reliant on just drawing them. So what you want to do is search your collection for things that can search for this card. There were no cards that pull Tyrsach units or supports, which are the tags that the veteran has, but kind of a universal tutor is the card Alzos Double Cross. So a silver spell pulls the strongest unit out of your deck. And looking at the deck list, our strongest unit is Udalric, and then the veteran. So if we cut Udalric here, we can include the Alzos Double Cross and have one more chance at pulling the veteran. If you think that a bit further, you also know that Kara and Burgerflipper has the same ability as a leader. He has 5 points, puts the strongest unit, buffs it by 2. So what we do is we cut Gnurrgard for ADC, and we cut Iced and put in Kara and Burgerflipper, which leaves us with this deck list. Small change, but already much more consistent. General, some weaknesses to look out for are inconsistent, which is what the example deck list had. In this case, you want to look for deck thinning and for true draws. Another weakness would be if your deck can't compete in a long round or in a short round, as in has no finisher, or if your deck is very mulligan heavy and thus you brick a lot. These are all things to look out for. You can see them when you're just playing the game or when you look at the deck list. So next up, when actually playing the game, I realized that the deck was able to put out decent points every round, but it didn't do anything else. It just played points, more points, then you pass, and more points. Couldn't really compete with other factions who had more dimensions to it, who had spies or carryover or engines. So this brings us to the next chapter, which would be packages. Packages in card games is what you call small sets of cards that synergize with each other, can be integrated in any deck without further requirements. They work in itself. For example, the current Alchemy Nilfgaard list uses a small package of spies with Rainfarn, Cantarella, and Joachim de Wet. This helps a lot with the weakness of Alchemy, which is the blue coin, so you can just put out your spy whenever you want. Also adds a very good finisher in Joachim de Wet to your deck. Another popular package is the Vesemir package that can actually be used in any faction, which is just Vesemir, a runestone of your faction, and then Mandrake. Shinmiri introduced this package into veterans, actually, like Vesemir, the Stribok runestone, I think it's called, and Mandrake, which at the time was very helpful because Consume was running rampant, and I think also Imlerith Sabbath came out at the time, so people played it, and so reliable access to Mandrake was huge. Yeah, so another problem I identified, besides the linearity of the deck, was that you kind of start off very slowly. So that if you're on blue coin, opponent out tempos you, you go 2 cards down and you lose the game, or you lose on even. So what I thought of was including a small discard package of Bran, Wolfsbane, and Olgierd, plus a Raider, which you can see in the voice chat companion. This package allows you to start off with Bran, discard Olgierd, Wolfsbane, and Raider. Starts off at 7 point, but with the Wolfsbane proc, it will be a 19-point opener that also establishes Olgierd as carryover. So even if you lose on even, you don't lose your card going into the third round because you have Olgierd protecting you. You can also see that we cut a Spear Maiden from the previous list because with Raider, Olgierd, and Wolfsbane, you have a lot more mulligan targets, so Haymaiden, Battle Maiden was often dead. So that got the axe. This is basically the list I've played for a long, long time. During that time, I often talked to a lot of good veteran players, good event players in general, and we argued about whether it is correct to use Kara and Burgerflipper or Bran for Olgierd. I argued that without Olgierd, you're basically just playing a starter deck because your deck doesn't do anything well, and other people argued that you have to have the consistency of getting the Tears of Veterans in round 1. So one day then, a friend of mine, team member of Team Aretusa, by the name of Octopuses, he settled the debate by actually saying that both Olgierd and Krach were right. He introduced what I call the cursed package of Heim, Skjal, Udalrik, and Olgierd into the deck, which first of all allows you to run a spy in Udalrik, because you can tutor it out with Skjal or Heim, and then he frees up your ADC to get your Tirsach veteran. Also, if Krach's first target is Olgierd in this case, but if you have, for example, Heim and Skjal in hand, you can Heim out the Udalrik, Skjal out the Olgierd, and this frees up Krach and Crate to get a veteran. So you basically have the best of both worlds in that you have carryover, but you also have the consistency of getting your veterans round one. This is what I argue is the best vanilla version of the deck. Like, not really tagged against anything, just focusing on the core strategy, but still very powerful. Doesn't just put out points and do nothing else. It has a spy for that aspect of the game. It has Olgierd for carryover. Very solid list if you want to try it out. It has been proven to work very well. I think Shinmeri got top 1000 with it last season. Yeah, and that's it for vanilla deck list. The next point I want to make is until now we just focused on our main strategy. We just basically played solitaire, right? We didn't look at what are other people's playing and how can we adapt to that, which brings us to meta calls and tags. You want to have your deck list up to date to the current meta. Now, if you happen to make a tier 1 deck, then first of all, congratulations. And second of all, you shouldn't aggressively tag for decks that are worse than you, because if you're a tier 1 deck, then you should be the meta. You should not look at the meta and tag against Cursed NR or something, because first of all, that deck isn't very popular, and second of all, you have a higher general power level in your deck, so you don't want to tag down. What you can do with a tier 1 deck is tag against other tier 1 decks, or for the mirror of the only tier 1 decks. For example, Greatswords can put in Wild Boar of the Sea to be better against Alchemy. Also, Wild Boar of the Sea kind of works with your main strategy anyway, so you're not really losing that much by tagging. This is the kind of tag that I would prefer, because things like Spheres are great in a tournament, but on ladder it's often just a 9-point card and loses you more games than it wins you. But if you happen to do a tier 2 deck, which in my opinion Veterans is tier 2 deck, you can think about adapting your deck to what most of the people are playing. In my example, the most popular deck on ladder is Brewer, followed by Alchemy, I think. So all the Brewer decks run the Cleaver combo. I think all of you should be familiar with that. And almost all Squirtle decks also run Eglaze. So what I did to improve the matchup was I cut all the spells from the deck so that except Restore, because Eglaze can't can use Restore, but Restore can only be used on Skellige units, so it doesn't matter in that case. Otherwise, I cut also Double Cross and Reconnaissance, and since I cut Reconnaissance, I had to cut Trist too. This means that Eglaze is useless against this deck, and Squirtle elves only have one finisher against you left, which is Sirinova, and you can deal with that, I think, with your Restores and Big Bearmaster and Freyas. Also, what I did is include the card Uncrate Armorsmith, which heals 2 units and gives them armor, to combat the huge damage output that Cleaver does. Oftentimes, Cleaver hits the spy that your opponent played on your side of the field for 11 points, and this makes Uncrate Armorsmith an immediate 18-point bronze, which also helps you catch up in tempo from the huge swing from Barclay Cleaver. Incidentally, the Uncrate Armorsmith tech also helps a lot against Alchemy, because the consensus among alchemy players is that you want to deal 10 damage. So, and the biggest units you provide for them to get full value are the bears that the Bear Master spawns, who are at 11. So that leaves your bears at 1 point. And if they shoot 2 bears with your Viper Witcher, and you play an Armor Smith, that's 27-point bronze, which leaves us at the current deck list. I will put in the voice chat. Yeah, general tips for teching are the best techs find value outside of the matchup you actually tech for. For example, if you are familiar with Handbuff Gnurrgard, you can play the Guardian in that deck, because the Guardian is another big body to use your buff on and put into your hand, but it also can break your opponent's deck, which is very strong against Alchemy, which often pulls the top card of their deck, and against Groover, who mulligans and then draws a card, which is then the top card of the deck, which is 6-point Bronze Guardian. And as a negative example, we already had Spheres. Orcs is also an example for that. Orcs can lock, like, against Greatsword, you can lock a ship and a Greatsword, or generally 2 engines, which is great. But say you play Orcs against Elves. It's a 7-point card, and it doesn't work with what Alchemy wants to do. So it's not very recommendable. Next up is don't tech for decks that are not popular, because if you lose 1 game out of 100 against Imler Sabbath, sure, it feels bad, but it's just not worth it putting a Mandrake into it and making this deck, for example, worse against Square Tail and Iglees again. And last tip for teching is don't over-tech. You have like 5 removals in your deck, like Muzzle, and you probably will obliterate Hansel, but in other matchups you often won't have enough targets to actually deny. Yeah, that's it for the general procedure of the deck build. Generally, the finding flaws in the deck and patching them up step is like the biggest step of them, but I think building a vanilla list is a very good thing to do in the beginning for you. For all of you that want, you can stay after that, pick a card, and we can build a vanilla list for you, and then you can go out and play with it and come back to me another day. Yeah, that's it for the general procedure. Any questions?
My questions are more about proper testing than building. I guess that can wait.
No, you can ask right away if no one else wants to ask something.
I have something more after.
Huh?
I will ask my question after Rosarie.
Mm-hmm. So if you get to a point where you're reasonably happy you've built a deck, regardless of its quality, when it comes to testing, obviously you want to play as many games as possible. Is there a ground rule for when you know how a deck is performing? I don't want to ask for a certain number of games, because that's not quite what I mean, but like what kind of stuff do you go through to properly test a deck?
Actually, what I do sometimes is when I build a new deck, I just put it together, just like I explained, and then the first game is just, for the first 2 games, is just against the AI to see how the mulligans work, if I have too many mulligan targets, and if I often break my hand. And that's already a huge step forward. I think I have built a lot of decks where I just went to the AI and found out, oh, this is not going to work, like a tutor with just 1 target or something. I have to put another target or something. And it's already first step. And I think generally just going out into casual mode or something, play a few rounds, you very quickly see what is not working with the deck, like inherently. Like 2 cards that have anti-synergy, for example, you can identify with that, something you maybe didn't see when looking at the deck list. For a set number of games, I don't think there's a set number. As I said, oftentimes you can identify weaknesses just by looking at the deck list if you're more experienced. So with the experience, you will also probably take less games to identify what is bad about the deck, what is not, what is working.
I think it's easier to identify small problems rather than a big one. Like when you go to testing, I try to focus on particular cards and see how often they achieve the desired value instead of how often the deck as a whole works.
Yep.
I think the issue with going into eye matches is a deck can work good by itself, but you have to see if it works in different matchups, and the eye is not gonna provide you that thing. So maybe do one or two games with the eye, but because let's say your deck works fine, but it gets destroyed by, let's say, Alchemy, or get destroyed by Greatsword, and this is where you're gonna have issue, and you're gonna have to rethink either some picks or maybe sometimes even your entire deck.
Oh yeah, but that's a problem for like the future steps. For the beginning, it was just about creating the core of the deck, like the main strategy, and that's not like reliant on what your opponent is playing. Sometimes you create a deck which is super badly situated in the current meta, and it's not really bad at all, but just the current meta is not made for it, and you will identify that. Actually, in the midwinter update, when I built the deck, I quickly realized that the dwarf deck that was tier 1 at the moment did everything that Vets did and just better. Like it also had carryover, it had more points, it actually had a long round win condition with Ithline. So that was also when I took a long break from the veteran deck, I think. Played Spies instead, something. Anyone else?
Well, I think I would also like to say people should really not be afraid of just messing around with the deck builder. Even if you build a deck that doesn't work and it's completely flawed, deck building is learning experience, and the more you do it, the better you get. And it's a really interesting and fun part of every card game, and especially when I think.
Yeah, of course. I've spent a lot of time just in the deck builder, and I think I've deleted more decks than I've actually made. But yeah, just going into the deck builder, looking at cards, see what they work with. Sometimes you just put in 6 cards and see it's not going to work at all, and just scrap the deck again. But yeah, just go out there and throw something together. Can't hurt.
I wanted to quickly about the part, like how do you change and take in your deck against some specific meta, but I guess you're gonna do that afterwards, right?
You mean like generally?
Yeah.
When you look at teching, as I said, I looked at the popularity of certain leaders. So you generally want to see what leaders are popular and how popular are they, and then see what kind of weaknesses they have is probably the best thing you can look at. For example, if you can make your deck better, a better dry pass deck that helps against alchemy. I think that goes a lot with meta knowledge, like knowing that alchemy is weak against dry passing something. Or in this case, it was just, hey, alchemy deals damage. Skellige has this card that reverses the damage dealt. And also the tips I had for taking, like, if they work with your general strategy, that's very good. Armorsmith now in this deck doesn't work too well with the same strategy. We only have the Spear Maiden as self-damage, but there's so much damage in the meta that you almost always find value. Also, a tech card in a bronze slot is pretty non-committal. You can oftentimes just mulligan them away in the third round.
Okay, thank you. Oh yeah, but to add on that, what I do personally is I use stats, so mainly Grand Chart to arrange my decks and arrange my picks. So like basically I check the cards with the higher win rate. I use Predator stats. I always use Predator stats, it's way more relevant. And with those, I like, how do you say, let's say one card is very popular. I'm gonna take around there. So, oh, Thunderman, GG for today, dude.
Thanks, man.
Well,
Yeah,
cool.
GG. Really well played.
A bit lucky, but all the better for
Ignore
the
me,
game.
Gabriel.
Okay, continue, guys.
Yeah. I don't know what more to say here. You can, for text, you can also look at popular choices like Igni is also a tech card, actually, but it works against almost anything. Like it almost always finds value, but it's huge against consume. So I guess teching is a lot about knowing how some decks function, and also like just going through the collection and finding things that actually, like the Armorsmith, which was long forgotten, didn't get used in the last months. So that's it for me for the general procedure. I would like to, no one wants to do anything like question-wise. I'd like to, for people who want to pick something they want to build a deck around, and then we can build a vanilla list together and can play it. Who would like to do that?
I'm thinking about something stupid. Wait.
I would like to. I was just wondering whether a visual element would help in that regard, because
Oh, you mean like the
it's going to be
steps?
tough for all us all. No, it's going to be tough for us all to work together on that one if none of us are. I guess I don't know. Never mind. Continue. Yes, I am
we can start a
interested.
group call and one of us builds the deck and screen share.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Or we can use the companion and just after every step post the list we have. I think the
or that.
video thing is like better for live, but it's also like, we have to leave the call here and go
Yeah,
to
it's a big
a
group.
separate call.
It would be best if you could like stream it on Twitch, or I don't know, probably it would be with delay, but still.
My PC can't handle streaming, so if anyone
Ah,
here
okay.
would like to stream it,
Mine
then
neither.
All right, sorry guys, I've got stuff to do. I just wanted to say hi. All right, see you guys later.
Yeah.
bye.
Good luck for tomorrow.
Okay, so suggestions for the build around card or tactic or whatever.
My first thought was discard Skelliger.
Discard.
I don't know
okay.
why. I happened to be looking at what was it? One of the Skelliger cards. I don't know. Oh, Ceres Fearless. That was it.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was step one. We decided on something to build around, which is the keyword. I said we can build around keywords too, so discard the keyword. We want to build around that. So what are we going to do? We're going to go to the deck builder, type in discard, and see what comes out. So yeah, looking at the list of cards we have provided here, we have Brand Tusach, which is discards 3 cards. Madman Lugos discards a bronze. Ceres Fearless. Yeah, that's make a new deck. We put in Bran as the leader, put in Ceres Fearless, and yeah. So when looking at the list of discard cards, we see that we have two types of cards. Discarders like Ermion or Svenrige, the Clan Drummond Warmonger, Johnny, and we have cards that want to be discarded like Siri Dash, Morkvark, and the Antcrate Raider. So first of all, looking at the list, we look at Ceres Fearless and think about what do we want to actually... Oh, Wolfsbane, yeah. Wolfsbane doesn't appear when you type in discard. Other cards that work with it are...
You got covered.
Ceres?
Like you can't really play
Albeit
discard.
also doesn't
Even you can
appear.
really play Gnurrgard with that card, except if you're playing X-Men. Like you in deck building, you also have to think about the auto includes. Like cards that are so good that you want to get in your deck whatsoever.
Mhm.
So like Kowal is an example. We also have the Cleaver combo with Boover. If you want to build a square attack deck, you got I think you got like Wounded in Machines. Though I'm playing against Anachan. Those kind of things.
Okay, so for our general strategy, we have Bran as the leader, as the discard leader. So what we want to do is think about what Bran targets we have, or if we want to put in just every target and have multiple discard triggers. So
since Ceres Fearless is a one-time effect, we probably want the discard target that she reses to be quite big, because it's not really worth it if she just reses the usual bronze card, right?
what I also see, looking at the list of discard cards, is if we discard a Warmonger, we can discard it resurrects itself.
Yeah, exactly.
So then we can discard another card, which could be a Raider. So that would be 8 points plus 8 points again, 16 and 4, 20. And we have 2 rest triggers on that, which is important because another card that works with discard is the normal Ceres. So what we could do is put in both Cereses and 2 Warmongers, 2 Raiders, 3 Raiders.
Is Wolfsbane in there already as well?
Nope, not yet.
Okay.
Do we want Wolfsbane with...
I
As
was under the
target?
impression that we had it in there. In that case, I would say that we should play Johnny.
Johnny?
But I would really advise for just Ceres, like the normal Ceres or Wolfsbane, not both.
Okay, so we have the normal Ceres because we want to do our cute combo with Dominant
Yes.
Warmonger and Great Raider.
You could try Iris Companions. So you choose a card in your hand, and the card that gets discarded gets resurrected by Cyrus.
That's true. Or we could have a lot of discard targets in our deck, so that Iris Companions discard something good like a Raider with a high probability.
I think it's
also
a
a possibility.
really good card in the discard list.
All right, then we put in Iris Companions. So with Bran, we want to discard normal Ceres, and we still have 2 slots left. What are good discard targets? Wolfsbane, we said we don't want because it has anti-synergy with... Not anti-synergy, but you generally want either Ceres or Wolfsbane, not both. Because if you have, for example, Ceres, Wolfsbane, and Olgate, you're starting with the 2-point leader. Speaking of Olgate, what do you think about including him in this deck?
Yeah, I would do it.
Okay. Do we want...
You want Olgate. You really want Olgate.
Okay, so we have Ceres, Olgate, and Bran. And we still need a 3rd card for Bran to discard. Could be just the Raider we already have in our deck, but
Gnurrgard or
Raiders...
Raider?
Yeah, Morphok is a possibility I wanted to touch on now. Could
If,
just-
if you have like a spot silver spot free, just put more, you know.
We'll
Like,
put
you
Morphok
don't
in
put
for
it more,
now.
yeah,
And cut him if we need more silver
Exactly.
spots.
exactly.
So
Are we running uncrate longships or not?
not yet, but we can talk about it. So Uncrate Longship deals 2 damage when played, and every time when you discard a card, deals 2 damage again randomly. So it's minimum 9 points, but it gets removed by Viper Witches. But see, like if you include the longships here, those are machines. So we could actually put in Demon Corsair. If they get shot by Vipers, we can just resurrect them.
And to round
So
the machine package out, we should throw in a whaler as well.
Whaler?
Yeah.
I was
or harpooner.
thinking.
About
It's better
pirate
in short
captains?
rounds.
Yeah, exactly. I want. If we put in Corsairs, we definitely want
Pirate captains and restore.
And yep, those work well together. And the thing in this list that I'm seeing is the Uncrate Longship is a clan and crate unit, so the captain can't pull it. The Whaler is also an Uncrate unit, so the only target for our captains to pull is Demon Corsair, which makes us very brick heavy. This would be something we see when playing, but or just by looking at the deck list here. So what about just including the Demon Light Longship as another alternative machine target for rezzing or just for the captain? And also this card baits out Viper Witches. At some point they probably can't remove all the engines, which would fill out our bronzes also.
I think I would prefer Whaler, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Doesn't
but it is less consistent.
doesn't include in the longship already like implies a lot of bronze spots. And
Yeah, exactly. We have
we're
4
running
bronze.
out of spot to cast that actually want to discard.
I mean, in the bronze slot, we only have 1 card that we want to discard, and that's the Ancrate Raider. And I posted the current bronze core in the voice chat companion, but these are
And
already
the
15
Warmonger,
bronzes. Yeah, 2 Warmongers and then the rest of the cards.
So no demon pirates.
True, we forgot the Demon Pirates.
And
Demon Pirates is actually a target for the pirate captain.
yes,
So
So we could cut the long ships, throw
Mhm.
in
the light longships.
and then we are at 16 bronzes, which is okay if we thin a lot, which this deck seems to do. We'll go over thinning later. So we still have 2 silvers and 2 gold slots left. Bran is discarding Ceres, Olgierd, Morgvarg. Is there any more gold that works with the discard package?
Are
Currently
those
seeing
of
that.
both Cereses right now?
Yep.
Okay. Well,
Current-
Lugos is good.
Lugos.
I mean, the optimal last or final round would be Ceres Fearless and then Madman Lugos discarding Warmonger, right?
True. So we put in Lugos and silvers. Did we put in Restore? Yeah, we did put in Restore.
You could run one smuggler.
Demon
True.
Smuggler to fill out our deck again.
What would we
Yeah.
want to?
Yeah, and
Well,
if you put back a diamond pirate, or Lugas is a 17-point play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just a thought.
Yep.
Maybe it's trash idea.
I mean, just doing like just brainstorming here, right?
What about Ermin?
The thing about the Demon Smuggler is that can be pulled by the captain, but we already have 16 bronzes, so I wouldn't go too much over that, even if we thin well. Ermion, on the other hand, discards 2 cards, and let's look at how many discard targets we actually have. So we have 3 discards with Bran, 4 with Lugos.
We don't have any left.
2 Warmongers, so 6.
And
We
we
have
have
6 discards.
targets.
Aren't we a
Um,
bit short of resurrections?
We have,
Well, we have the machine resurrections, and what soldiers do you want to res?
yeah, we only have the Warmonger. We have the Warmonger and Demon Pirate, but
Yeah, but they are an 11 point. Or I mean, you could reuse the Warmonger, but right now we are.
I think 3
exactly-
resurrections is already enough.
Yeah.
It's okay.
You don't want to have too many of them because then you just end
We
up with
might
dead
want-
cards found on.
Like,
But-
Sigdrifa is probably sufficient. In some cases, rezzing a Warmonger might be good, but
Yeah, I'm all in for Sigurdrifa.
And you have to keep Ceres in mind, right? So if you don't have enough, she
I
doesn't.
mean, the
end up-
Uncrate Raiders res themselves. Morgvarg
Yes.
and Olgierd res themselves.
Yep.
Ceres Fearless has a res. Sigdrifa has a res, and the Corsairs, of course, as well.
Yep.
So we have a lot of reses in the deck.
Yeah, that's true. But
Okay.
the raiders are usually not triggering Ceres.
They should be, because they land in the graveyard and then res themselves.
Yep.
Yeah, but you do this at the start of the game. Like, I mean, usually round 1.
Yeah, but your Ceres is in the grave from the start.
Exactly. You discard her with Bren. With your leader.
Fair enough.
Okay, so we have 1 gold and 1 silver left. Looking at the thinning right now, we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11 thinning, which is 1 short of perfect thinning, but I think it's good that way because we look to be very mulligan heavy, so we don't want to be perfectly thinning because that often ends up with dead hands.
Can I ask very quickly, because I seem to
course.
have missed it, what's the 5th silver? I have Olgierd, Morgvarg, Sigdrifa, and Restore. I seem to
Iris
have missed.
Companions.
Iris,
Companions.
okay, yeah, thanks.
Okay, so we want to have a gold and a silver that don't thin. Looking at the Skellige golds, I would maybe just throw in Coral because she's just good. What do you think?
It would be my first call.
Yeah, definitely.
Coral, Igni both work. Muzzle is okay. Muzzle is a bit of meta specific.
If we changed the light longships for whalers, I would definitely go with Igni.
We don't have light longships anymore.
We cut them for Demon Pirates.
Oh, missed that one.
Let's put in Coral, and for the last silver, any recommendations?
Do we have a spy?
Nope, but Spy thins 2 in this case, so we overthin by 1. So we mill ourselves.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
have a
but
lag.
Also, I think this deck has like problems throwing out tempo. So
Powered, maybe.
I think we need another discard target, actually.
discard
we have 3
target.
discards. Yeah, we have 3 discards from Bran, 1 from Lugos, and 2 from the Warmongers. And we have 6 discard targets.
Siri Dash. That's
Oh,
amazing.
never mind. I had a twist in my thinking for some reason. Yeah, okay. We just
Actu-
can't res Warmongers, though, right?
We don't have Freyas anyway. Oh, we have
Yeah, but we have
Sigurdrifa.
Sigdrifa.
Yeah, but Sigurdrifa would probably go onto a Demon Pirate
Yeah.
or on
Or
Great Longship.
Captain. Yeah. Okay.
All right, if we actually came to my mind, if we thin 11 cards, then we can use one of Sigurdrifa or Restore on a Pirate Captain that we thin to 0. But we don't have to. So if we think we overthin, we don't do that, but if we are fine with that,
The two silvers that were jumping out to me were Dragbondu or Holger Blackhand.
okay, Dragbondu to buff up
Neither
the
of them
spells.
thin. So
That's a good point.
Why not just running Ornamental Sword then?
Ornamental Sword, what can it pull? We can put it in the search bar.
it's just a soldier, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So what works with our strategy? We don't want another Warmonger because we don't have any discard targets. We don't want anything like Skirmisher, Greatsword, or Onclate Marauder because we don't run Freyas. Queensguard, Axeman also don't work with our strategy. So does Raging Berserkers or Dormant Shieldmaid. Doesn't seem to me like it's worth it. Also, if we include Ornamental Sword, that would be our first spell that Iglace can actually use. So just for filling out the deck, enabling Iglace, I don't think is worth it.
We can use Mandrake. It enables a glaze, but has more synergies with our deck.
Mandrake with prime target Ceres, right?
We can strengthen one of our carryovers like Morbach or Allgeared, even one of the machines to rest them later. Or we can just counter some boost heavy decks like Alchemy or Elves and even Sabbath. Right.
So what do you think about, we still have a silver slot left. What do you think about cutting Coral and Companions for the Vesemir package? Runestone, Mandrake. Oh, but that thins, right? Oh, Iris Companions, if you take that out, that thins too, so it's fine.
Yeah.
That would be a possibility.
Good work.
Okay.
Do we have enough discard targets now?
We have 3, 4.
Oh, right. Iris Companions is actually an extra discard that we don't need.
Oh yeah, because she discards randomly, so we can't really control what she discards, so we didn't counter.
Yeah,
So-
we could replace Iris with Svenrik.
That's true. What I don't like about Svenrik is that he's 9 points just, so he has to use a Raider. Also, we still have discards that work, I think. Other discards we didn't put in the deck. Actually, yeah, Ermion and... Yeah, but just Ermion and Svenrik. So Svenrik could be a possibility. But then we cut the Vesemir Mentor package.
I think Vesemir package is probably the best here.
Okay,
If we want to go cheeky, we could add Operator to copy a Raider and have more discard targets as well.
That's also a funny idea. I think we can... I will just save the deck we have right now, and then we can do a full-on discard deck, and probably that thins a lot more than 12, and can use Siri Dash because of that. As the second list. So drawing the deck list together for a screenshot. Okay, this is the Fearless discard deck, and now we can make another one with Siri Dash. Do we want to still use Ceres Fearless for that? I think we can cut the Vesemir package, put in Siri Dash. If we want to go full discard, we probably want Johnny, right?
Yeah.
June is also very good with Dash.
And Iris's companions.
I would definitely run Vesemir's 2 strengths and 0 dash.
But we have a lot of gold slots already committed. We could cut the Ceres Fearless and Lugos package in this version.
Yeah, that's what
Probably.
include Vesemir and probably Coral.
Ermion is
Yeah, I was
probably
thinking
not
about
bad in
Ermion.
full-on discard. And then you can
So Ermion and what did we say for the golds?
Wolfsbane, then Johnny gets better if you have another gold that you can discard with him.
I would,
True.
mm,
Okay. So Hermione, Wolfsbane. Do we want normal Ceres still in the deck?
Hmm.
I think we don't need her since 0 dash is our finisher.
Okay. What do we want instead? Things I'm seeing just by going through the list of golds is
Royal Decree maybe, but
Decree, yes.
if you don't find her. But again, we thin so much, we should find her. I don't know, I'm not sure
We
about
can
that.
leave that open for now. Are we still cool with the bronze package? Looks pretty solid, I think.
Hmm.
Any other bronze that we want? I don't think so. No. I think the bronze package is fine. So we still have one gold slot open. The silvers are Iris Companions, Olgierd, Johnny, Morgvark, Sigurd Driffer, and Restore. So the last gold card. How much do we thin? We have 3. Bren, Ermion makes 5. Companion 6. Pirates 8. 2 Warmongers 10. And then 2 captains is 12 thinning. We actually can put in more thinning if we want. Because we get a lot of cards back with Zero Dash. What about since we don't need the reses anymore and we don't have great targets for Sig? We could cut Sigurdrifa, put in Udalric, which thins by 2 and also discards, so if we hit something, he's discounted. And then for the last gold, we can put in Heim to fetch out Udalric. Which would make the list look like this.
We don't run Scale, right?
I don't think we have a silver slot left for that. We have Udalric,
Okay.
Iris Companions, Olgierd, Johnny, Morgvark, Restore.
Okay.
Okay, I posted the dash discard list too. So yeah, that's it for the discard list. What do you think? How does it look?
I don't know.
Now I
but
kind of
it's-
wish I had Siri Dash or Ceres Fearless so I could try it out.
It looks meme-tastic.
I think I like the Fearless version.
Okay,
I really do.
I
I
missed
think
you.
the fearless version is like screaming for not running into alchemy.
I just ran into Alchemy and he had 3 Viper Witches, but one of my ships still stuck.
No one runs alchemy
Oh, you-
anymore. Ruba
You're
scared them
playing
off.
it right now?
I'm playing it right now, yeah.
Okay, how's it going?
1 run 1, 1 card down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll see.